Hi, I'm Cody Bever, a C&B Operations John Deere sales representative out of Miller, South Dakota. And today we're going to be going over the Operations Center, the map, and the setup, and everything involved with those. All right, so we got 5 tabs. We're going to go into the Setup tab. In the Setup tab, we got Connections, Geofence Curfews, Land, Products, Setup Creator, Team, and Terminals. We're going to go into Land, which is Land Manager. In Land Manager here, we can sort on the left side by our client, farm, and fields. We can show if they have boundaries in them or not, so then we can sort out our field list here based off of what we do for filters on this side. Towards the middle here, we have a Create New. This is where we can create our field, our client farm field, flags, boundaries, and tracks. So in the field list, you click the caret icon on the left side. It'll show you all your boundaries, your tracks, and everything associated with that field, including flags. And this field has flags of rocks, weeds, has a tile line. Also, we can go, if you scroll back up, if you go to the South Bluff and you click the eye icon in the circle, that'll bring the details on the right side of your screen. And here you can see if you had, you can see your client farm, and then you have your field up top, and then it shows it as it's shown on the display. Also in there, you have your base station. It has your time slot of the base station. You have your channel ID, network ID, and the radio frequency that's being used with that tower. You can show what's in it too for lists, like there's 3 boundaries, there's 6 guidance lines, and if you wanted to edit the name, you can click Edit. And then here you can change your client, farm, and field. You can associate it to a base station, and then you can see everything else that's in there. And then you can click Save when you're done. And you can do the same thing with everything else, like boundaries. If I wanted to edit a boundary, I just click the details there, and then I can go edit my boundary. So if I click Edit over there, I can move my boundary. I can select a point on there, and then I can edit the boundary as needed. And you can do the same thing with tracks. You can do the same thing with your points for flags and everything else. So say when you're in the field when you're planting, or you come in and scout later, you want to go mark something in the field. Say I want to go drop a flag, whether I do it on an iPad, whether I do it on Connect Mobile, whether I do it on Operations Center, marking flags. I can mark the flag, I can show it in Operations Center, and then say we already marked this area for weeds. So later, when I come in with a sprayer, when I do a sprayer pass, I just got done planting, I did my scouting, and I found this whole area right here has weeds in it. So I flagged an area off, and that's weeds. So then when I come in there with a sprayer, when I look at my display, that flag is gonna be there. So now I have a place where I can set my focus to when I go out to the field. Just try to make it easier for my operators, or me as an operator, or just anybody in general. You can share this with ag service providers and other companies that can use this information as well, so they have a chance to go focus on those areas. So also looking at Land Manager, when you do the drop down, you can also select a field, and then you can click Archive right there or right there. And when you archive it, it gets sent to the archives. And anything you put in the archive is automatically stored in here, so it doesn't get deleted. You can delete it, you can select a field, so not test, you can click delete. Back to there. Say you wanted to see these all in a book. C&B Operations offers a Land Manager book where we do this for you, the customer, or you can click this box, or you can select certain fields. You can go to Export. When you go to Export, you can do it as Excel document, or you can do a PDF. And then a PDF, you can list your boundary shapes in there as well. And then you export, and then it creates a little Land Manager book for you. In these books, you get your fields, the boundaries associated with them, the guidance lines associated with them, and your flags and other points in the field. You can save them to your desktop, you can put them anywhere you want, you can go print them off. You kind of can do whatever you need to do with those Land Manager books. So if you want a Land Manager book for every piece, so every operator can see what's going on in that field, like say, hey, this is the guidance line I need to start with, or hey, this is what I need to look out for in the field. And that's what a Land Manager book looks like. It has the boundary, it has your guidance line set, and everything is labeled. We can go back to Setup, and then we can go to Products. Products, or what everybody used to call it, would be Product Manager. All right, so in Product Manager, we can look at the available. We can sort them by our brands, what kind of product it is, whether it's a chemical or whether it's a variety. Chemicals would be your herbicides, pesticides, and everything else. and then your varieties would be your seeds. We can sort by crop, we can sort by, if we did a fertilizer or a herbicide, we can select by dry or liquid or gas. And then over here we got our products. In here we got our product name, manufacturer brand, category, type and crop associated with, our form, whether it's liquid, dry, or gas, and then we have the date modified. So here's our list of products, but say we don't have the product that we need. We need to add it. So we go to the top right to go add a product. We have to select a category. We'll just select a variety. You can do chemical too. You can select your crop type, so let's just do corn. Here, you can select a product, say I want to do this Pioneer variety, or if you can't find what you're looking for, at the way bottom, you can click the plus sign and add another product. So in here, we can do the name, whether it's a chemical, variety, we can add the brand in there. And then you can do brand. Say it's DeKalb or Pioneer. And then you do the crop type, which would be corn. And then you can save. Just like corn, save. And then you can go to the next. And it'll just double check everything you added. If you had a list of multiple, you had 2 crops, we're gonna go through both of them just to make sure they're correct. So we click save, and now they're in our product list. And we do the same thing with chemicals. With chemicals, you can see their EPA number, your registration numbers, and everything else when you add a chemical as a product. We can go to tank mixes. In tank mixes, we can add a tank mix. So with all the chemicals we have in there, you can select a tank mix that's existing so we can edit one, or we can create a new one. If we create a new one, then we have our overall rate. So say I'm putting 10 gallons an acre down, I can select up to 6 products I want to put in my tank. If you go to type, you can just type in fertilizer, or you can type in herbicide. With the herbicide, I want to put dual magnum down, and then I want to put Liberty down. So if I go to Liberty, so if you select Liberty, then you go to next, and then it'll go through the registration numbers that are on there. It'll go through, if it's a herbicide, you have to make sure you click your form. So if it's whether it's a dry, liquid, or gas, you gotta make sure those are all in there. Say it's a liquid, then you click save. So now I got my 2 rates in there. So now I can choose between I want to put gallons an acre, or I want to put ounces an acre, pints an acre, whatever you want to put in there. We'll do ounces, and we'll do ounces again. Say we're going to put 10 ounces of dual magnum, and then we're going to put 5 ounces of Liberty down. And then we have water as our carrier because we mix it with water. We can put how much our tank is. So we have a 1,500 gallon tank, and I want to cover 145 acres. So then we have our acres per tank. So we can cover 150 acres with that tank, and it tells you how much you need your volume to be. And then it splits everything down for you. How much water do we need? How much dual magnum we need? And how much Liberty we need? And if those look all correct, then you can put some notes in there for whoever's gonna go spray, and then you can go click next. And then you gotta enter a name, we'll say test, and then we can set what kind of crops we wanna do. So I wanna go spray corn. So put your corn down, click that. You can do multiple crops, and then you can push save. So now that's gonna show up in our tank mixes. You can click save, then it'll come up in your list. We just created test 1, and that's it. If you can't find the chemical you're looking for in the tank mix, you can go down to the way bottom, and then you can add a chemical. So if it's not in your products list, it's not gonna show up in here. So when you're creating a tank mix and you can't find it, then you're gonna have to add it. The name, the chemical, whoever manufactured the chemical, the registration number, if you want to put the registration number in there, and then the chemical type, the form, and then you can save it. So if you have varieties that are on your display that you want to bring in to the Operations Center, because automatically the Operations Center will not let you bring varieties in there unless you change this setting. So when you're in Product Manager, you go to Preferences, and then it says, it'll do a little verbiage, it'll say products, it'll never import. You can change that to always, so you edit, change that to always import. So now if we click save, every time we bring in data from our displays, it'll bring in the varieties. So whatever we say, we go plant a field and we say it's Pioneer so-and-so or DeKalb so-and-so, that variety will pop over into here. So then it's in our product list. So we don't have to go in there and add it. It's already gonna be there. To top setup, and we can go to setup file creator, land manager and product manager. We have everything we need to go out to the field, and equipment. We already created our equipment. So we already created our equipment, we created our land manager, so we have our client farm field in there with the guidance lines, flags, and whatnot. And then we also go to product manager, and we have all our products, varieties, chemicals, fertilizers, everything. So now we have everything. Now what do we do with it? We have to go to setup, the setup file, the setup builder, and we got to select a display type, whether it is GS3 2630 with the Gen 4 family displays, the GS3 Command Center, 2600s, and 1800 displays. Say most people nowadays have a 2630 or Gen 4 family display, so we're going to click that. We're going to get a file name, so let's say planting 2021. So we can either create a new or create from existing. We're going to create a new one, and then we're going to start at the bottom right. Now we're going to start with the land. So the land stuff, everything we did in the land manager is going to be in here. We can select certain assets. We can select our fields, or we can select our boundaries. We can select all, or we can just do bits and pieces if we go down the list. And then on the left side, we can sort by our client farm and field, boundaries and everything, just as you've seen in land manager. If you're in planting, then you don't need to do variety locator. But if we're doing this for harvest, then we go to the right side, top right, to variety locator. And here's where we do our stuff for variety locator, so we can select our fields that we did. So if I have one field and I planted 4 or 5 different varieties in that field, I want to be able to just go through there with my combine and be able to say, hey, this is that variety, that variety, that variety, without me having to go in there in the display and choosing what is what. I want the display to tell me exactly what is what. So to do that, we just go to variety locator and we select our crops. But since we're doing a planting setup file, we're just going to click next. If you don't want to select a certain thing, say we don't want to select boundaries, we can just click boundaries off. And then click out of the box and then go to next. Onto the next page where we did our equipment, we can pick our tractor, we can pick our 8245R, and then we can go to the implement and then pick our 1770 NT and then go to next. You got to make sure you have a equipment, and then you got to make sure you have the implement too. If you just have one or the other, it won't let you send the setup file. So here's our products. Our products, we can do our varieties. So if we're looking for a variety, we can do our DeKalb variety. We can do any type of variety that we did. If we forgot to add it, there is an add product function at the bottom, just like there was in product manager. And it'll walk you through the same steps as we did in product manager. There we go. X at the top, just select a product. We can do the same thing with tank mixes, so for spraying, or we have a certain fertilizer mix that we put down with our corn. You can just select one of those. If you don't, you need to select one of those, then you click the bottom right corner to next. If we had operators in the field, this is where you can add an operator. And if you don't have any operators, having an operator is not necessary for a setup file. But it's nice because when you go into your field analyzer later, then you can see who planted it and when it was planted. When you're adding an operator, this is really important for people that do their own spraying or do custom spraying. Then they can, if you click add an operator, when you're doing add an operator, you can create a new one, or you can do their operator name, and if they have an operator license, so there's applicator's license, they can put their license number in here. And when you do that, then you can click save or exit out of it since we don't have an operator. Then we can go to the next. So now we're in the summary. This gives us our file details that we did and the whole thing. We'll just say the display type, the file name, what do we do for land, what do we choose, we'll do the machines, and then it'll also show us what products that we selected, how many we selected, and then if we had any operators, it shows us there. If we think everything's fine and dandy, or we want to go back, say we want to go back to land, you can go back up to land. Say we forgot something, then you click it, select that boundary, we forgot that boundary, you can click that, and when you think everything's all tidied up, neat and done, then you go back to summary, and then you can go to create a file to the bottom right corner. And then if we had any equipment with wireless data transfer enabled, so with machines that have JD Link Connect on them, we can click that. We can do create and send or create without sending. And we're going to do create without sending. If you were to create and send, it'll send it right to the machine. You go to the machine, you go accept the setup file, and then your setup file is done. It'll come in here to the setup files in the past 12 months. Since we just created it, it's saying it's building. And once it's done building, we can go to Files. Once it's done creating, it'll pop up here. Also in Setup, we can go to Teams, Team Manager, which we're in right now. Say it's just you, just the staff member in there, but you want to be a partnership with C&B Operations or a local co-op that can help you in your operation. So if we go to add to your team, add a partner, we want to make a partnership with another organization. When we do that, we want to be able to grant access to my partner. We have to have all your partner's information, email address and everything. We're going to go grant access to my partner. We're going to send it to the partner's email address. Click next. And in here, we can adjust access levels based on what we want them to see. So if we want them to see all our equipment, we can grant them access to that. I don't want them to see my organization management, so I will back to, take all their access away so they can't see anything. And the same thing with fields. I don't really want them to see my fields at all either. I want them to only see certain fields. I can choose between fields. So I want them to only see East Bluff, and I want them to see all this information. So we go down to work. So I only want them to see work and crop plans for that one field above, and I will give them access to that. And if you keep going down, we can show them financial access as well. And I do not want them to see any financial unless you give them permission to. So I just want them to see all that stuff that we did before. We can click next. And then next, we could go finish, and then the partnership, the person you're trying to partner with will get an email, and then that person will have to go into that email and accept that partnership from there. We just tried making the partnership with a private institution. They can log into their operations center too as well, and they will get a notification saying so-and-so, or the support center in this case, wants to be a partnership with that organization. And then they can go in there and accept it. In conclusion today, we went over the Operations Center map, the setup, and everything involved with those two. My name is Cody Beavers, and thank you for choosing C&B Operations, your John Deere dealer of choice.